What was that transition like the first time where you're like, hey, I'm kind of doing my own thing to now I'm working for somebody else?
First thing that pops into my mind was it was a kick in the dick. It was like having to go, because I didn't start working with them. It was 3 months where I was just kind of trying to do my own thing and I kept falling on my face. Having to kind of like tuck my tail between my legs and say like, hey, the fastest path for me to like be successful on my own is to learn from people that are doing it at a high level. But once I got in, it was the best decision I've ever made because I saw people doing it. I saw how they were doing it. Being around those types of people helped me to get to where I am. I was there for 3.5 years, and then it just got to the point where I felt the massive weight of like, I'm holding myself back, even if I have to take a step back. Like I need to be doing my own thing.
Welcome to the Builders of Authority podcast, a show committed to helping you build authority for your brand. In the realm of business and personal branding, authority stands as a cornerstone. Authority isn't built overnight, it's built over time. So join us as we build something remarkable together. And now, here's your host, Adam McChesney.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Builders of Authority podcast. We're live here at Adventure Unknown in Fenton, Missouri. So if you are watching this or listening to this and you're in the St. Louis area, if you haven't been to AU or it's been a while since you've been here, send me a message. Would love the opportunity to show you around. We have some awesome new amenities that are coming here in just a couple of months. So it's going to level up the experience even more. But if you're an entrepreneur or a high-level professional, you're looking for a great community in the St. Louis area to network with awesome people, this is the place to be. So on this show, right, we help entrepreneurs through the podcast, contractors and business owners build their authority and grow their brand. Today's guest is someone I've gotten to know really well over the last couple of years, and I'm pumped to finally have him on the show. His name is Matt Kresko. Matt and I first got connected a couple years ago as I was building our Builders of Authority mastermind. He had reached out. We ended up having coffee and a conversation, and he joined our mastermind, then went to all of our Builders of Authority live events that we had back in 2024. It was really awesome to kind of have conversations with him about some of the in-person networking and how he had built his brand while also, working for somebody else. So if you're listening or watching to this episode and you're from St. Louis, you already know how small this city actually is. Now take that layer and add it to the social media complexity that's out there, which also helps us network with more people. Matt and I kept realizing how many mutual connections we actually had floating around for years before we ever met in person. That's the funny thing about being online and networking and doing all this stuff in the entrepreneurial space, especially here in St. Louis. What's been awesome is to watch Matt consistently level up. He's pushed himself way outside of his comfort zone, sharpened his content, and put himself out there in a way a lot of people talk about, but actually never do. So a little bit of background on him. He's a Southeast Missouri State graduate who actually cut his teeth in the recruiting and talent acquisition world. From there, he got into the real estate side with acquisitions as the director of sales and acquisitions at Faster House here in St. Louis, where he was helping homeowners and leading a team through some of their toughest situations with rental or with their real estate properties. But the whole time, he was always looking to do more, investing in himself, doing some of his own deals, and learning the game from the inside while working for everybody else. And that brings us to the part that I'm most excited to dig into today. He recently bet on himself and went on his own in real estate as an investor, capital raiser, and building his own portfolio and doing it his way. So we're going to dive into all of that stuff and more. Matt, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
We met at Omen Coffee, which I feel like a lot of people have met at that coffee shop. And I don't know how, but it was definitely something along the lines of not just knowing the same people. Oh, you were in Mike Kitko's group, and then you were doing what you eventually taught me how to do, which was just like posting once a day about life, business, kind of the shit that you're doing.
Yep.
And eventually you kept popping up on my algorithm, and I was like, I gotta get to know this guy.
Yeah. No, it's funny how it all works. And I think somebody else, I think after we had coffee, 2 people randomly were like, hey, you need to meet Matt Kresko, or Matt, you need to meet Adam. And it was like, yeah, we just had coffee earlier this week. So there was a lot of different things that were kind of connecting us. And so ended up happening. And I appreciate you for being one of the first mastermind members going to both of those events. And it's crazy that was, 2.5 years ago now with a lot of that stuff.
It's wild. Yeah, it was, what was it? Well, you met me when I was in the thick of it. So I had no real experience in real estate. I knew I wanted to build a portfolio. And then it's like you have a few main ways on how you can do that. And it's like you can go direct sales, you can go direct marketing, or you can go networking. And so I chose networking, and I was meeting so many people at that time. And then, like I said, whenever we met, it was like, oh, you know this person, and we kind of kept going down the line. But yeah, I was in the thick of it then.
Yeah. So talk to everybody about, I know, you didn't have the experience there, right? And you learned it. Where did you kind of get started after college? How did everything kind of get to where we're at today? And then we'll dive into you going out on your own.
Yeah, so graduated college, got in my first job in sales, and then shifted quickly into a different type of sales, which was like headhunting and recruitment. So worked for a few different companies there, and then started my own recruitment agency where I headhunted sales and some marketing. I was doing that. I started what's called house hacking on the side, which is essentially buying a house with a low down payment and renting out the extra space. So I bought a duplex with my FHA loan, rented out the top unit, and essentially lived for free. And then the next year I bought a townhome, kind of did the same thing, and then started networking with more and more people. I got in Mike Kitko's mastermind, started meeting guys like Brian Schroeder, Lucas Wall, Sam Prim, and then I just kind of felt I don't know, like you call it a calling, I guess is probably the word that comes up. I don't know if I'd like label it as that, but it just seemed right. It was during a time where people were still coming kind of out of COVID. So not a lot of people were meeting in person, but like the real estate community was.
Yeah.
So, and then most people in the real estate community, I feel like are some form of like entrepreneurial.
Yep.
And so what happens when you come across that is a lot of people that are into self-development, like we see all the books here. And so that was two passions of mine. Like I like meeting people, I like making friends, and I like the self-development side. So, and it was like a super easy time in real estate because interest rates were super low. You could find deals left and right, whether you were an agent, loan officer, or a real estate investor. So July of 2022 is when I kind of cut ties with my recruitment company. And then I kind of sold it with this idea of like a revenue share over the next couple of years. And then the time that I transitioned is when interest rates hit and things got a lot more difficult in the world of real estate. And so on the flip side, the business that I had built folded with my business partner, not his fault, not my fault, just a set of unfortunate circumstances. So I had no income, no experience. And I went, I think like 7 months without a paycheck, which was at the time a super scary thing, but it was one of the best things that I've ever been through. I had to move back into my duplex so that I could save on not paying a rent or a mortgage. Had to really cut down on expenses and really just crack down on work. And so going through that, I feel like pushed me to be such a hard worker that like it kind of unlocked a new level in me, and I kind of had a new North Star, which was like work is my like North Star. Which could be a good or a bad thing, but I saw it as a really good thing. So 7 months, no paycheck, got my first deal, started snowballing some success there at Faster House. Was working with them, but it was a fully commissioned job. Year and a half in, got promoted to the director of sales position because of my ability to network and my ability to systematize networking. I wasn't afraid to go out and meet people. I wasn't afraid to follow up with people. They saw that, and so they kind of promoted me and wanted to teach me how to do that. And then at that time, started building my own portfolio. So I started buying June of 24, so about 2 years ago. Since then, I've built a rental portfolio of 25 doors with some partners, and then also I'm in the process of completing number 11 and number 12 on the flips, also mostly with partners. I got to the point where I saw my flip pipeline could match or exceed what I was making at my W-2 job. So 2 months ago, I broke away, and now I'm completely on my own.
Love it, man.
Yeah.
So my first question is, because I think a lot of people have been entrepreneurs, right? And sometimes they are like, man, I can never go back and work for somebody else. I can never go do that. You had your own business, went back and worked for somebody else, and now you're doing your own thing again. What was that transition like the first time where you're like, hey, I'm kind of doing my own thing to now I'm working for somebody else?
It was the first thing that pops into my mind was it was a kick in the dick.
Yeah.
It was like having to go, because I didn't start working with them. It was 3 months where I was just kind of trying to do my own thing, and I kept falling on my face. And having to kind of like tuck my tail between my legs and say like, hey, the fastest path for me to like be successful on my own is to learn from people that are doing it at a high level. And it was the best. But once I got in, it was the best decision I've ever made, because I saw people doing it. I saw how they were doing it. I got to learn. I got to bounce ideas off, not just from like how to acquire properties, but people building a rental portfolio. Like what Sam and Lucas has done is pretty cool. What Brian Schroeder has done is really awesome. And so being around, I'm a big believer in proximity. Being around those types of people helped me to get to where I am. There are probably two big decisions I made that have been a massive result, or big catalyst for the results that I've gotten, and they're one of them. So it sucked, and then it was awesome, because even when I was in the leadership role, they kind of let me steer my own ship. I got to be kind of a entrepreneur, I guess if you would call it, right? Like I got to kind of own my own thing and come to the table with ideas and innovations on how to do things. So it kept me pretty fulfilled. I was there for 3.5 years. And then it just got to the point where I felt the massive weight of like, I'm holding myself back, even if I have to take a step back. Like I need to be doing my own thing.
Yeah. And the reason why I ask that is I think a lot of people let their ego or their pride get in the way of saying like, hey, if you're at a fork in the road, right? Again, not saying everybody needs to do this, but at some point, it might make sense for you to take that step back and go learn from people and be inside of a company that has processes and systems, that has the 3.5 years worth of experience of you being in there, that would have taken you 10 years to go do on your own while making money and getting paid from somebody else. And so I heard that a couple of years ago, and it was fascinating to me because, I meet people that are like, oh, I would never go do that. I'm like, well, luckily, you don't have to maybe right now, but if the fork was in the road, you might want to actually do that, because now, as you've restarted, right, you have all of that experience, you have the new network, you have things that you just wouldn't have gotten previously.
Oh, never. And obviously, you do the same thing, right? And I remember when we first started kind of hanging out, that's what you were doing, and you were still full-time in that agency. And it's like, it is funny where people that want to get started will go out and they'll pay for mentors, but they won't look at the idea of going and getting paid to learn and have the mentorship in a less formal way.
Yes.
But you get as much exposure to whatever it is that you want to be able to see something of where you would want to be one day.
So before we dive into kind of like what you're focused on now and kind of where you're going, I know when we first talked, right, and you still are to this day, like one of the best networkers and connectors of people that I've ever met. And so when we talk about building authority, obviously for me, it's personal branding on social media, it's the podcast, it's a lot of stuff. But I tell people all the time, is like building authority is done 1,000 different ways.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have gotten away from networking. They've gotten away from, boots on the ground, trying to build relationships and do that stuff. I know it's worked super well for you. So talk to us a little bit about kind of your journey in that and why it's been so successful for you and why you continue to invest in that.
Yeah. So what was I going to say? Before I forget, I do want to mention the post that we both commented on like the anti-networking thing. And I was just like, oh man, this is gonna ruffle some feathers. So there was a guy that posted that said and he's a pretty successful young entrepreneur, and he said he gave some advice that like 99% of networking is stupid, or it doesn't work, or something to that effect. And I don't agree with that, but I did agree. I kind of agreed with parts of it, but it was more around the idea that the way people network. I feel like a lot of times the way people network is ineffective. Because being a networker yourself, you've been to events where people go in and it's just spitting out like, here's what I do, here's my business card, me, right? And when I started networking, I was kind of like that, right? But I think I did such high volume of networking. Like there was one point where I got started out that I think I met like in person, one-on-one, over 60 people in a 2-month span.
Wow.
But that was my whole life, right?
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
like
yeah.
I was networking all day or going to networking events at night and walking appointments or cold calling or whatever the case was. But what the best experience you can get is just by doing things over and over and over again, and then you end up iterating and figuring out what works. So as I was that person that was like going and here's what I do, I buy houses, can you send me this? Here's what's in it for you. I started to realize people weren't responding to my follow-up messages.
Yep.
And so one of the things I realized is, number one, value is a term that's overused, but it's the easiest way to plug it in here. It's like, figure out how you can provide value to somebody. So I think one of the benefits that I had when it comes to networking is I was a recruiter for 8 years. So being a recruiter for 8 years, you're doing exactly what you're doing here. You're asking questions, you're probing, you're clarifying, right? You're making sure that you understand the person on the other side of the table with the end in mind of like, there's a match that I could make on this other side with another company or organization, and I have to be able to reference these notes, whether it's a job I have now or a job down the road. So I would meet people and I would look at that in the same way. And I would say like, tell me about your business, tell me about your bottlenecks, what kind of goals do you have, what do you got going on personally or professionally, who are you trying to meet, right? And so I would come out of every single one of those with 1 to 3 connections that I could potentially make to that person. I would tell people, I would kind of teach this, it's like, if you can't make a connection, like try to send them something. Like, I would always say, like, if you're talking to somebody and you say, what's a big bottleneck that you have in your business? And they're like, you know what, I'm really good at meeting people, but I'm just not great at closing. If you could find a podcast or an audiobook or something that you could send that person that's like the art of closing the deal or whatever the case is, that references like, hey, I actually listened, they might not ever listen, like read the article, listen to the podcast or the book, but the fact that you sent that is going to make you leaps and bounds ahead of any other person that they've met in your industry, because the bar is really low for what it is that we do. So I got in the habit of every single person that I met, I would try to make an introduction to them in some way, shape, or form. Some were flops, some were home runs. But I tell you what, like, you know, even a couple of home runs, it's like makes a big impact, because then people, I believe, start talking about you outside of rooms. That's how you build a brand. That's how you build an authority. And I think it's parlayed with what I really wanted to come and talk about, which is your method. And so I have to say, you told me something when I first joined your mentorship or your coaching program, that probably one of the most impactful things that I've done since I started in real estate. And that was get on social media, get on Facebook, post twice a day, minimum once, try twice a day, same time every day, do it for 90 days. Like, you can figure out what you want to post, how you want to post. Here's all these ways to like set up a calendar. It's like, it doesn't matter, just post. And then add 5 people of those that you want to connect with. And I did that. And then I started seeing the likes go up, but more importantly, like, what happened after that 90 days? Like, the seeds were planted, right? And just to give context, it's like when you post, you want to post about what's relevant to you. And you always think whenever you're building a brand or whenever you're trying to reach a certain audience, you should be thinking through the lens, like, is this post like going to like be something that my audience wants to read? For me, it's real estate agents. I connect with a lot of real estate agents. So would they want to read this? And dude, like the domino effect of what happened, or the compounding effect of like the friend requests that started pouring in, the referrals that I started getting, right? Like, and it wasn't just like referrals for buying houses. I got lenders out of it. I got partnerships out of it. I got validity out of it. Like my whole system right now is predicated off of like social media.
Yeah.
Like my systems, my processes, everything that I do now is I have KPIs where I reach out to 25 new agents a week.
Yeah.
I have a conversation with them as long as they'll talk to me.
Yep.
And then I tell them, hey, I'm going to add you on Facebook just to put a face to the name.
Yep.
Right. And I'm telling you, after, or like they get so many calls on what we do, just like any industry, right? Whether you're an agent, you know, a marketer, everybody gets your calls if they need your service or product. But like them seeing me and then them seeing me post, them seeing me get engagement about what I say I'm going to do. And then on the flip side, them seeing their friends that are other agents that are liking and commenting on it, like they now know me forever.
Yes.
And it's because of I took what you said and I did exactly that. And I think if people would do that, it could absolutely change, like 90 days. 90 days to change the next, you know, couple years of opportunities for you.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
And I remember in the early days of me telling you, I'm like, we had a couple calls where I'm like, Matt, you just need to do it for 90 days. You need to post. You need to go do that. And what you said, though, I think is so profound, where we started talking about the in-person networking part, and then you parlay that with the social media aspect. If you have the network already and you're doing those 25 agent outreaches and you're building your in-person network, but more importantly, the way in which you do that, I remember only one other person asked me as many detailed questions in a one-on-one that as you did. You were like, what are your goals? Who can I connect you with? What's this, what that? It was way beyond the surface level stuff. So one, I remembered it, obviously. And then two, it was like, oh, there was that follow-up where you said, hey, you were going to do this. You connected me to two people, I think, right after it within an hour, right? And so that's memorable. But then the connection to the social media stuff, it's like you're laying that foundation and then you're attacking it from all different angles. It's no different than if you're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever. If you're attacking them from all those different places, attacking, I mean, like the strategy from that, something is going to pay off.
Yeah.
And then you have the ripple effect of, oh, this person knows that person, and they see this and they see that. And then the post is written in the right way, not just trying to shove it down their throat. Where I see people go all wrong is they say, hey, I'm only going to do a social media strategy. I'm only going to do in-person networking, which is why like on that post and a lot of these other posts that are out there, people are like, this doesn't work or that doesn't work. It's because, you only tried that for 30 days and you had one bad experience over here, but you didn't have it lined up in an actual plan and a strategy so they can all make each other better.
Yeah, I think it's all about one, doing it long enough, right? Because everybody expects they're going to get results in the first 30 days, and then they're easily chalked up to like, this doesn't work. And then like, what is your strategy behind it? But again, I think a lot of times like the strategy comes after time in market of doing it.
For sure.
Because like for me, for you, like, and I was a guy that at times I am ready, fire, aim, but there are times when I'm like overthink. And I think if I'm like on a social media platform where I'm worried about like what will people think about me on the business side, on like the people in my social circle side or whatever it is, where I can get overly analytical about what's the perfect thing to post. And then like I realized that no, like the number one thing is just do it for a long time. And then you'll figure out the strategy as you go. But yeah, I completely agree that like there's a lot of people that just don't do it enough. And I agree that if you can compound from different angles, right? Not too many.
Yep.
You don't want to spread yourself too thin.
Yep.
But it's like if you can hit cold outreach and just, I mean, I post once a day.
Yeah.
You know, I hate to even say that I have a brand, but everybody has a brand. But it's like I post writing content once a day at around 7 a.m.
Yep.
And it's something usually related about what I do in real estate. And it's like, I don't really give a fuck about the likes. Like I do.
Yeah.
Like I do. It's a scoreboard for sure. But I remember specifically there have been posts that got like 2 comments and 1 like.
Yes.
And then a day later, somebody reached out to me about that post, right? Because it still pops up on their algorithm. It's like the reach is there. It's and I could go on for days about like pointing to different things that I've gotten just by posting, but it's like, again, it doesn't take that much work, but it definitely, what's the Hormozy quote? The world belongs to those that can do without seeing the results, right? For long enough without seeing the results. It's like, if you can continue to do it for long enough, you'll reap the rewards.
Real quick, if you're a contractor and your marketing isn't bringing in consistent leads, we can help. Book a free strategy session with Builders of Authority, and we'll look at what's holding your growth back and how to fix it. Scan the QR code on the screen to grab your spot. All right, let's get back to the video. Absolutely. And so I think two things to connect some dots there, because I obviously had to restart everything, go build everything with Builders of Authority 2 years ago, right?
Yep.
You're now a couple months into going out on your own. The best, I guess, case study, build in public thing that I told everybody is hey, and I told people in Builders of Authority, hey, I'm relaunching this agency. Go watch me be able to go rebuild this agency bigger, quicker, faster, stronger, more profitable, better than I did in the previous 3.5 years, only because I never stopped posting and I had the experience of all that stuff before, but I had the brand. And it's I outgrew in 11 months what took me 3.5 years to go do previously.
Did you document that stuff?
Yeah.
So you put it on YouTube as you were going?
Yeah.
Really?
So I had the digital, I stopped posting from, I don't know if you remember, I created the digital nomad marketing thing where I was only talking to agency owners.
Yeah.
Because of my partnership with Go High Level. So I was literally documenting the entire process. Here's where we're at in 90 days. I stopped documenting a lot of that once we passed where it was. And then I stopped the partnership with Go High Level. But consistently I was hey, here's where we've hit. Here's where we're at. Now with that, I think you, again, obviously starting and doing your own thing now, imagine if you hadn't been posting and doing all that stuff for the last couple of years. Imagine if you hadn't, you'd be starting from the experience that you gained, but without the brand and the authority there.
Yeah.
And so I go, people are well, it's not paying off as quickly and it takes time and it goes and does that. Or, the funniest thing I talk with people about all the time, whether we're doing their digital marketing for them or I'm coaching or just telling somebody what to do with personal branding.
Yeah.
They're oh, I'm busy enough right now. I don't need it. I'm yeah, right now.
Right.
But 90 days from now, you might not be. So you can't bank on stuff too much. And that was the key thing is a lot of people didn't even know I stopped doing digital marketing until I literally had to tell everybody I wasn't doing it anymore. And I was getting to relaunch this agency because I was continuing to show up and post, regardless of the circumstances that was happening. And that's the key.
Yes. Yeah. It's okay, no, I have a question because I don't want to forget this. So
fire away.
You documenting that stuff, okay? And documenting hey, here's where we're trying to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Watch me do this. Here's where we are here. Here's where we are here. Did that, do you think just the fact that you documented it expedited? Meaning the fact that you were putting yourself on blast and the fact that you were how they say, if you teach it, you can master it.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you had to go audit your system so that you could explain what was happening in your business.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that fast forwarded your success at all?
I think there was an aspect of that because it also made me rethink of, hey, if I have to go teach this to somebody else, is this what I want to go actually teach somebody that could scale it? Because they're not going to have my experience. They're not going to have my work ethic.
Yep.
So at the time, right, before I ended up relaunching my agency and then shortly after relaunching my agency, I started also coaching agency owners.
Yeah.
So I'm teaching people here's how you build the personal brand, but here's how you run your agency. Here's who you need to hire. Here's your processes and systems. So I was teaching other people based on what I learned before, but I was also learning, wow, I've been out of the game for 8 months. There's some things that have changed. Here's some things that I need to go implement. So I was almost getting paid to learn how to also go and do it. But I was also coaching people who had never reached above where I was at, which I'm a big believer of. I'm not going to go coach somebody or tell somebody what to do if I haven't already done it and I can go back and document it.
Yeah.
So I think it was a combination of all those things. And then the thing that really amplified it was as I was going and sharing all of this stuff, there were other marketers that were oh my gosh, he literally just rebuilt this and did this. And you're starting to see them comment in posts, baffled and confused on how all this stuff is happening, which then you see my ideal clients looking at that and saying, well, hey, if this marketer is saying this and all these other people are saying this is freaking insane.
Yeah.
he's probably the guy that we need to reach out to.
Right.
So it was a combination of all those things.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it's ballsy to put yourself, like to say, hey, I'm going to do something.
Yeah.
I'm going to document my journey.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it's something that I've been telling myself I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've got active income goals because like in the world of real estate, passive income is so romanticized.
Yeah.
And not that it's fictional, but it's just hard to get to the point where it's truly passive. And then it also gets to the point where like, if you see a lot of people trying to make it in real estate investing, like there's some broke motherfuckers out there,
Yeah.
right? And meaning like, and I'm not saying that like in a negative term, it's like if you only focus on passive income, like you don't make like your nut of like your monthly expenses on a single rental.
Yeah.
So if you focus on that, you forget about active income. So I'm like, let's make active income cool again.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the goals is obviously getting to the point of financial freedom.
Yeah.
Like I want my cash flow from my rentals to far exceed the expenses. And my girlfriend and I have kind of outlined like, hey, like in a shit hits the fan in the world moment, right?
Yeah.
Like what would be our baseline to cover our expenses?
Mm-hmm.
What's like, hey, a good life? And then what's like, we're fucking like, you know,
rolling.
yes.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, or even the active income standpoint, I've teetered around with the idea of like just continually putting my own like L10 meetings, like with myself around like, here's where we're at the business. Here's the struggles. We've spent $100,000 over on this flip and now I'm fucking scrambling for money or whatever the case is. But like the good, the bad, the ugly, but always looking at what's the end goal in mind. And I wonder if that would almost like that social pressure would do anything for me, or I wonder if just like that clear objective auditing and having to be truly authentic to a camera would help.
So there's a couple different things there because so it was at about, I think the last digital nomad marketing video I ever created was about 9 months into our relaunch, which that was right at the point where it was like, okay, we've surpassed what I was doing before.
Mm-hmm.
So part of it was also like, I just wanted to prove to myself that I could go, because I felt like a failure after the first instance where I had to go through all that stuff, had to go through the lawsuit, you know, hearing all this stuff about what people were saying or whatever. And I'm like, you know,
so can you, because I don't think I know the whole story. So I didn't even know that there was a lawsuit. And why did you feel like a failure?
Well, so I was a franchisee
Yeah.
of this digital marketing agency. I had an agency that I merged into that to begin with.
Yep.
And then I grew that to $1 million in 15 months, grew it to like 1.7, and then I became a partner of everything. So I wrote the biggest check I've ever written, $113,000 in addition to merging my portfolio of almost $2 million, wrote a $113,000 check to get more equity inside of the partnership.
Yeah.
So was successful as a franchisee, went on as a partner, and it went south very quickly. So franchisees had been getting ready to leave. There was all these other like nuances that were happening. And so about 9 months in, I was like, I'm out. I can't sleep at night. I can't do this. A couple months before, I had built the mastermind of Builders of Authority. So this is all happening probably right as you and I are meeting.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I said, hey, like I'm out, like give me a payout of what my equity's worth. And then of course it didn't go anywhere. So we had to file a lawsuit. Well, I had to non-compete. So I couldn't go do what I had just done for the last couple of years since leaving medical device sales. So I continued to build the mastermind and do all that stuff. And I said, I'm not going to restart an agency because like this basically epic failure where I had a good business, I had extra money in the bank account and I depleted it and lost it all. I have a son that's 6 months old.
Yep.
I got dropped from my medical benefits and insurance.
Yeah.
Fucking everything just feels like it's crumbling in. And the longer it went on, the more I realized like, hey, I might actually have to start an agency because I don't know what else I'm going to do. And I don't really want to go work for somebody else. And people started to realize, and they're like, hey, if you ever relaunch an agency, we'll come hire you. You know, people were wanting to work for me. So the day that I signed the agreement, the next day I made a post on Facebook. Hey, here's kind of what happened. I didn't mention the lawsuit. I didn't mention anything. And I had 30 business owners reach out saying, hey, sign us up. You know, that's why we grew so quickly, because I had the infrastructure and the brand from all those years before. But to that point, it was kind of like that chip on my shoulder of like proving all those people wrong that kind of like effed me over along the way, whatever you want to call it. And just being like, I'm going to go do this. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't know if I can.
Yeah.
And so I was also documenting that journey to be like, F you along the way. And that helped. But then you reach a point where it's like, hey, it's now like that doesn't fuel me anymore because now I have 45 employees. Now we have over 100 clients. If I'm still living off that fuel of like, go fuck everybody else, that it only goes so far. So that's part of the reason why I stopped documenting the journey for that of like, hey, I'm not getting fulfillment from it anymore.
Yep.
I've already surpassed what I did previously. And then secondarily, the more clients you have, the more employees you have as you're, and I'm very public with our, or very private, but public with our team on here's our numbers, here's all that stuff. But when you're starting to go and do that, you do have employees that look at it differently. Like, why is Adam doing this? Why is he spending so much time talking about all of this stuff? When I just want 30 minutes of his time. He needs to be building, rapport with the managers. All that stuff. So it was kind of a gut check for me too to say, why am I doing this? And that's when I really started to say, hey, I don't have the time to do both of these, the Adam McChesney brand and this other brand that I created to kind of do all that stuff. I need to get back into Adam McChesney, but that's also the same time where I had 10 one-to-one coaching clients. I fired them all. And then we dwindled down the mastermind as well to nothing because it was like, hey, this agency needs me, but Adam needs to be a different person inside of the company because we went from, a couple employees to 45 in 20 months.
Dude, and it's the idea of simplicity, right? It's like you cannot scale like multiple things at the same time. It's like dialing down. It's in our world in real estate, it's very easy to get shiny object syndrome because it's like you've got wholesale, fix and flip. You've got creative finance, which is like subject to seller finance. You've got short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, long-term rentals, right? Like there's like, you can get into lending, people get into coaching. It's like there's so many different ways to make money in this world that it's like people think that, all the income streams are the most effective.
Yeah.
And I think at a time they can serve a purpose. But to your point, I think you probably came to the conclusion of like, okay, if I have 100% of me, right? What's the biggest ROI I can get?
Yep.
And is it this agency that I've got a 40-person team or whatever size team you had at the time? Or is it this mastermind, one-on-one coaching, which I've realized is like the ultimate time suck, right? It's like, it doesn't matter how much you charge, I guess it does to a certain extent, right? But you're limited to how many one-on-one sessions you can have per week with those people. The mastermind obviously is like, okay, you're one to many, so it's a little bit more scalable. But it makes total sense why you would be like, and I'm saying this because I've struggled with this in my business because I get it, but like, get rid of this so 100% of me can go this because you'll scale 10 times faster. The compounding effect of all your chips in this basket is going to go way better than 33% of your chips in 3 baskets.
So when we 100%, so when December was when we cut everything off. I cut all the one-to-one coaching off in April of last year. So it was kind of like one-to-one, and then the mastermind cutoff came about 6 months later. But since December, we've grown our business, almost doubled our business in 6 months.
Yeah.
Just from December. From the standpoint that it was like, hey, now this is 100% Adam's time where it's like, this is where it needs to go. And I think for a lot of people, the struggle is we're entrepreneurs. So we all have all these different freaking ideas. It's the shiny object stuff. It's listening to all these people and saying, hey, you could do this, you can do this. And I've been down the time suck thing where I bought a short-term rental that talked with you about as well.
Yeah.
I own equity in a roofing company and an outdoor living company in Long Island. Now, on some of those things, I've just learned to like, hey, I'm just acting as the CMO of what I essentially do every single day. The short-term rental, we're now taking that back over in a couple weeks. So I'm not excited about that part from a property management standpoint. But there's all these different things that, because we're also in the online space too, in just being on social media, is that we think the way in which everybody talks is reality, meaning that there's no ups and downs. And I know, I'm going to get to the point here in a second. I know you've shared some losses where you're like, hey, we lost this in the deal, or this happened, or this and that. And that's what I've done to a certain degree as well, as much as I could share about how I had to start over and things that we've gone through. But I got consumed after restarting the agency on like, oh, hey, I'm now starting to get some profit. I'm doing some stuff. Where does all this money need to go? And I see this person buying this and this person buying this and this person investing in another company or whatever. And then you realize like, oh my gosh, it's not as good as what they sold.
Yeah.
And with that, right, there's so many people and a lot of people like we probably all watch or are connected to or whatever, where they talk in definites.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutes.
networking sucks, or you need to do this marketing strategy or this. And they're doing it because they're positioning their offer behind it, or they want you to go buy a property from them or go do whatever, not telling you the 100 things that will go wrong.
Yeah.
And you have to learn that the hard way. So that was what I wanted to touch on as well about all of this is you got to be careful what you say, right? Because your integrity is everything. And then if you veer off of that, people are going to find out, recognize very quickly, and it will impact your in-person brand authority, whatever. And then from that too, you don't want to be listening to just anybody and everybody on the internet.
No, I think more than ever, I think authenticity wins.
Yeah.
You know, I'm all for like utilizing content or types of content and like extracting from that and giving your own take behind it. But like, I think the days of like literally mimicking, copying, pasting other people's content are going away. I think if you're not authentic with what you're doing, especially in a market like we're in, it's like that's just going to bleed through really quick. Yeah. I'm such a big believer of just objectivity. It's like is the word I use probably most. I don't want people to think I'm more than I am. I don't want people to think less than I am. Like I want people to know kind of exactly where I'm at, so that there's no friction, so that there's no unmet expectations when I meet or talk to somebody or when I'm doing business with somebody. I'm a pretty open book. I'm honest and transparent. Obviously, we don't share everything that goes on behind closed doors, and I don't think everybody should, but I try to give the bits and pieces that I feel like are going to, a lot of my shit that I post is like notes to self, right? It's like, what am I learning? And then it's like, I look at it as like, this is a note that like me 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 12 months ago would have loved to know. And I think when you start posting from that, like, I'm sure most people have heard, like you're most qualified to teach your former self. If you start posting from that standpoint, you care less about likes and engagement, because it's like, hey, I'm posting this because I know if this helped me, this will help somebody else along the road or along whatever journey that they're on. And to me, I connect with agents and investors, but to kind of what you're saying, I just try to post things that are happening. And then if there's a lesson or nugget that I can take from it, I don't care if it's a good thing or a bad thing. And actually, I would argue that the bad things are the things that we learn from a lot more. So they're even more valuable when I post them.
Well, and somebody told me this a while ago, and I can't remember who it was, but it was something around like the content and what you're writing being therapeutic for yourself, where you're like, hey, this is something that I just need to like tell myself again, and I'm best suited to help the previous version of where I was at or whatever. But it's also therapeutic in the sense that, and somebody told me this right around when all that stuff was happening, where I was going through the lawsuit and all this stuff, and of course I had to be careful about what I said and didn't say on social media. And I never like fully, obviously told the whole story, which I don't want to do that. But in that, it was like, hey, if you're posting in the moment, whether you're frustrated, whether it's a lesson that you're still going through or a loss or whatever, is wait until, even though you want to post it right now, wait until it's a little bit over where you can actually reflect on that. So you're not posting a lesson that still has like the open wound where you're like trying to figure out you're saying the wrong thing or it's mixed messaging or whatever, because you need to learn from it. Other people need to learn from it too, but you haven't even understood the full lesson yet. And so that was an incredible piece of advice where, I mean, as I told you before, I have notes of all these things that I'll eventually write about and talk about. It's just not there yet, because I haven't been able to fully reflect and extract the entire lesson yet.
That's so good. And And I like laugh when I think about that, because I took something that I heard, which is like, hey, if you don't know what to write about, like look back at your calendar. Every interaction that you've had, like there was something that happened, right? And you can have a hook, retain, reward, right? Like you can make a really easy piece of content out of that. And I remember I was at Faster House, and there was a guy that I'm great friends with to this day, but at the time had like a little bit of an altercation with on like what was happening. And I felt that this person was like really big on talk and like, oh, I'm close on all these things, and like I do this and I do, I do that, and I like made this post, not about him, but it was just like, oh, learning lesson here. It's like, hey, the people that are the ones that are actually doing and they're not talking about it constantly, blah, 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 blah. And he came in the next day after like we had butt heads and then like made up. He's like, motherfucker, that post was about me, wasn't it? And I was like, yeah. I was probably a little bit emotional when I wrote that, but so the lesson kind of held true, but at the same time, maybe giving that some air to fully grasp that stuff is probably good, so that you can give the full lesson and not just what you think is happening right now.
In the moment. And I think it's and where I've correlated a lot of this stuff with content creation and building a personal brand to business is, and I think you and I've talked about this a little bit as well, is like I treat my personal brand as a business. Right? So whether it's the KPI tracking or it's like, hey, I'm going to make one YouTube video a week, I'm going to do one podcast, I'm going to do all this stuff. I have to be in the zone. I spent 5 hours on Monday creating the next 2 months worth of YouTube content. That's like stuff I have to do, but it's like basically that Adam McChesney is a business in and of itself.
Yeah.
That has to have its own metrics, has to have all those things. And then separately to that is there's a lot of correlations between all of it. I can't get so high and so low and so emotional on the analytics and what's working and what's not, no differently than if I have a bad week in business and things aren't looking great. I have to be able to fully understand what actually happened versus just making that rash decision based on, oh man, we got to cut this, or this person needs to go, or we need to fire this client, or we need 5 more clients. Whatever it is you have to look at everything as a business of what you're doing with creating content and building a personal brand.
Yeah, macro versus micro, right? It's like what's happening over the long haul of things. And I was curious on what your thoughts were on this, because I remember when we first started, we talked about like, what do I post? How do I post? And you were like, I forgot exactly what you said, but obviously something along the line of just post.
Yeah.
When people come to you now and they ask you about that and they're like, I don't even know where to begin, right? I'm just getting started. What do I post about? What do you normally tell them?
I just tell them about, I do everything from look at your calendar, start writing stuff down on everything that you're doing on a daily basis, everything that you're consuming. But the first thing that I tell people now is don't think, just act. And so the first thing that comes to your mind on what you would post is usually the best thing that you actually should post.
Okay.
And then from there, I now recommend, because the algorithms have changed since you and I met 3 years ago, is the longer, I'm not going to say long, don't write a freaking novel, right? But if you use a picture and write a longer text, it's going to get way higher engagement. And engagement meaning interactions too. So it's not necessarily all the things that you can see, but if somebody clicks, see more to read the whole post, or they just click on your picture,
it gets shot out a little more.
Shot out a little bit more. So you're going to get that longevity out of it versus I used to be big on just writing, and I still do. Like at the end of the day, I haven't really thought of something. I'll just put the couple words with the background or, the black background or whatever on Facebook, just to get something out there, because I'm still a big believer in the 2 posts per day. But those used to just crush it all the time, and they don't, because they're trying to reward images with longer text and things like that because there's more engagement there.
Yeah.
So they're able to show more ads, which is why they're doing that. But I tell people is like, if you need business, because a lot of people come to me and say, hey, Adam, I need to know what I need to do right now to generate business as quickly as possible. I tell people, like, you're in the wrong spot, because you're not likely going to make a post for the first 90 days that's just going to blow up your business.
Yeah. And
in most industries, right? Unless you have something earth-shattering that none of us usually do.
Right.
From there, though, is the more creative you get with your content, meaning writing something longer, anybody can go do the quick background thing with that and write a couple sentences. Anybody can do that. But the more authentic that you can be, the more you can look at it from the lens of what people want to see. The first thing I tell people is, again, start writing longer content, But 2, think about your ideal customer and reverse engineer all that stuff. So with that is, what questions do people ask you? What questions are people that are referring you asking you? Who are you best served to help? So like, who is that ICP? If you start there, I think you're going to get quicker success than just being like, hey, like, obviously, again, if you have nothing to write about, you're just like, hey, I went for a run today for the first time, or got back in the gym, or I'm eating healthy, or I'm going on vacation. Like, those are all good things, and you need those things in the puzzle. But if your business content is not good, it doesn't matter. You posting a picture with your dog or your kids or whatever, like, you're going to get the vanity metric, but you're not good at creating content for your business. So you got to get good at creating content for your business.
Yes. Yeah. And I would, whenever I used to teach my guys, or the team that I had when I was at Faster House, not a lot of them posted on social media, but the people that were newer, I was like, I'm getting attraction engagement and some traction because of how long I've been doing it and because I have proof.
Yeah.
So if you don't have proof, one of the things that you can do is show effort and energy.
Yes.
Right? It's like, I'm doing this. It's like, I've met 100 real estate agents over the past 2 months, and here's what I've learned, right? It's like, you want to try to attract people, or like, I met over 100 people in a networking event to try to build my business, and here's what I've learned, right? People still want the shortcuts. If you don't have the proof, they at least want to understand what you learn from like the input that you've actually put into your work.
Yeah. Well, it was like in the beginning when I first went full-time in the agency back in July 2020 after I left medical sales. I had already built 200 websites. I just wasn't making any money with them. And basically like digital real estate, right? But that at that time, the auto glass company started to go and generate 300 and 400 phone calls. So I'm like, hey, here's an auto glass company website that I built that is now getting 300 and 400 phone calls a month. Here's the data. Here's where we're ranking. We're outranking Safelite. We're out. And nobody knew that I didn't have people paying me thousands a month to go do that. But it's exactly to your point. It's like, what you have is what is needing to get posted.
Yeah.
Don't lie. Don't do something that you're not, or be something that you're not. Don't try to make it. But like, people can pull from whatever they want to. You're not lying. They just don't know that you're just getting started, or that you're struggling, or that and all stuff. Share the reality of it, be authentic, and then the rest is going to figure itself out.
Absolutely. And to go to parlay off your point earlier, it's like, post on social media, like that's your Roth IRA, right? Yeah. It's not anything right now, right? You're just dumping a little bit in after every paycheck, right? But the things that are going to get you the quickest return is you still have to do like 4 hours, 3 to 5 hours of business development every day to go get clients.
Yep.
And then make sure that you can make sure those two things are cohesive so that they're working in tandem together. Mm-hmm. Because 90 days, 180 days, a year from now, right?
Yep.
Those things are going to play off of each other, and they're going to play a big role.
Yeah. Well, I just look at it as well. Like, somebody asked me the other day, like, hey, Adam, like, you guys are doing this amount of revenue. How many events have you had to sponsor this year, or how many will you sponsor in the home services and contracting space? I said $0. Next year, we're doing our first big one because we've got a bigger partnership that's going on, and I'm going to speak at it, and we have a bunch of clients that are on the platform. It's a relationship that we're trying to take to the next level.
Yeah.
And it's a pay-to-play thing, which, again, that's the only one that we're going to do. And they're like, dude, we're 200, 250 just on event sponsorships, grand for the year. Wow. Not to mention the paid ads that they're doing, not to mention all the other things. And I'm like, yeah, because you built the company brand, but the company brand is usually a lot of times along the event sponsorships and the paid ads and all that stuff. You, as the agency owner, even though you have a bigger agency than I do, or right where we're at, you haven't built a brand.
Yeah.
So like, I'm getting all this free stuff, and then now our company benefits. Like, it's just a give and a take, right?
Yeah.
So you can build it and then allow it to pay off, like the IRA thing, or you can do the quick, hey, I'm just going to pay, but the pay doesn't always work out.
Right.
So you got to have a little bit of both.
Yeah, and then I look at it like, if we were to correlate, like lump the social media thing into networking, mm-hmm. which I believe it is a form of, right? People start to know who you are. There's, when we talk about those 3 strategies of developing clients, there's cold outreach, there's paid marketing, and then there's networking.
Yep.
Why I'm such a fan of networking and brand building is because, like, if you stop cold calling, well shuts off. If you stop paying, doing paid ad, zilch, nothing. It's like if you do enough brand building and networking to where people know your name on both ends, it's like you can't shut it off, but like if you shut it off, it would take much longer time for it to go dry.
For sure.
And just there's a level of maintenance needed, right? Yeah. If you get it to a point, there's a level of maintenance and not a whole lot to grow it. And that's the beautiful thing I see about like those two hand in hand, the networking and the branding. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah. Love it, man. Well, this has been a great episode. What's the plan? Like, what are you looking forward to? I know you mentioned like, hey, you got some goals, things like that, whatever you feel would be good to share, but like what's Matt really building here?
Yeah, I think, so I've got a unique approach in my business where I don't have an in-house construction company and I don't plan on starting an in-house construction company. I have partnerships, either contractors that I know or that will do the flips and reno for me, or some contractors that I know that will do it cheap and will split the profit half and half.
Yep.
So I don't have to manage the project start to finish. So that allows me to just scale lead generation. So my goal is I will mostly niche into working with real estate agents because they're people I like, they're people I know. And then I want to just become a lead machine. Like I want to, because I'm really good at finding money. I'm really good at finding deals through my network. And if I can systemize that and get to the point where I can like start to hire people for that too.
Yep.
And I can continue partnerships handling the construction, like I'll never hit a construction bottleneck.
Yeah.
And then if I want to get to the point where, you know, I'm doing hopefully like 100 deals a year plus on fix and flip or rentals or wholesale or whatever it is, it's like maybe then I could look at, you know, bringing on a who for that. But like right now it's like, again, I'm so new and I'm so early to starting out. The ultimate goal is just to have fun with it and continue to see how many deals that I can stack through my network. And then eventually down the line, like financial freedom, like, you know, all this, the wealth, the legacy, the whatever. But for guys like us, it's like that's coming, right? Yeah. That's kind of inevitable. So the focus is just on having fun while I'm doing it.
Yeah, love it. Who are you looking to connect with? Like people listening to this episode, maybe it's them, maybe it's people that they know. Like who can help you drive this mission forward?
You know, it's any real estate agents, obviously, I'd love to connect with because I help get them paid a little bit more on deals. But realistically, it's like I like talking to people about real estate investing.
Yeah.
So anybody can drive the mission forward. But more importantly, it's like if you're out there and you're in the St. Louis market and you want to talk real estate investing, whether you're an agent or a recent college grad or whatever the case is, it's like I could talk about it all day. So that's my deal.
Love it. And where can people stay connected with you?
Matt Kresko, MattkResko, first name, last name at Instagram. And then that's where I'm at on Facebook. And then hopefully after being inspired by this, I'll have a YouTube here to get a brand rolling on that at some point in the next couple months.
Yeah, love it, man. Well, we'll put all that stuff in the show notes. I'm glad we got a chance to do this, man. Thank you so much. How was it?
Dude,
How was it?
Awesome, man. I like it. I love interviews. I love talking back and forth. And I did want to come on. Like I said, I wanted to come on and I want to talk about, we're off now, right?
Yeah, no, we're still going on.
Oh, we're still going on? Yeah. Oh, sorry. I thought you meant how was it?
No, I mean, we'll talk about it after too, but I always ask people like, you know, hey, was I okay?
I thought that was the sign where this is done. It's like, no, podcast is sick. You're obviously a good interviewer. But like I said, when I came here, I'm like, the one thing I wanted to give you kudos to was the fact that like you were the one that was like, post this, do this. And I'm like, it can't be that simple. Yeah. And I did it. And I will never look back. And I you know, if I would have started out and I would have said, oh, Facebook is where I'm going to build a brand, it's like, like I would have been like, ew. And then at the same time, I'm like, why the fuck do I care? Yeah. It's where all of my target market is. It makes so much sense. Yeah. And so, but the podcast was awesome. Yeah. But we clicked pretty easily.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate you, man. So thank you so much, man. This was awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And thank you so much for watching or listening to today's show. Make sure to go follow Matt on social media. If you're interested in the St. Louis area in real estate investing, real estate in general, reach out to him. He's a great guy to have a conversation. Have learned a lot from him over the last couple of years and excited to continue watching his journey. Share this content on social media if you haven't done so already. Also subscribe to the show, and then we'll see you next week. Remember, authority isn't built overnight, it's built over time.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode. We sure do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you consume podcasts. This way you'll get notifications as new episodes become available. If you feel so inclined, please leave us a review. We sure do appreciate it. Until next time, friends.